welcome to highlights of the 1991 Italian Grand Prix, brought to you by Micropose and GP2Joey. It's the start of September, and that means we take the highly anticipated trip to the fastest circuit of them all, Monza, for the 12th round of this enthralling season. Britain's Nigel Mansell has won the last two races for Williams-Renault, but Ferrari fans will be hoping star driver Ayrton Senna can take top honours this weekend. In the Drivers' Championship, it's McLaren's Alain Prost holding a slender lead over Senna and Mansell, with teammate Joey Davies in third place. And in the constructors' standings, it's McLaren still out in front, but Williams are closing fast, with Ferrari not far behind either. After the previous race in Belgium, new boy Michael Schumacher was hot property in the run-up to Monza, whilst Honda seemingly threatened McLaren to sign Senna back, or they would leave the sport. As rumours surfaced, the team were chasing Ilmor engines and Schumacher for 1992. Meantime, Jordan tried to fend off approaches for the German, as Bernie Ecclestone commented that he would probably be best suited moving to Benetton. Senna then proclaimed his desire to drive with Williams one day, which worried Ferrari, who were simply targeting getting the Brazilian signature once more on a contract for 1992. Davis then ordered Honda to make up their mind over their future, as reports were that a deal between McLaren and Schumacher could well be announced over the weekend at some point, as the team were locked in talks with Honda over next year. Schumacher's manager, Willy Weber, then said a deal with McLaren was not necessarily a given, as Ron Dennis continued trying to convince Senna to rejoin McLaren. News then broke on Friday morning that 22-year-old Schumacher would not be joining Benetton as expected, but would be staying at Jordan until the end of the year, which delighted team boss Eddie Jordan. Friday morning's pre-qualifying session was close yet again, as drivers fought to get optimum speed out of their cars on this flat-out, no chicanes version of Monza, where horsepower is king. Sadly, for the likes of Prix session favourites Brabham, it was not a good 30 minutes, with both Damon Hill and Mark Blundell unable to make the cut, whilst Lotus pairing Martin Donnelly and Mika Hakkinen were unstoppable and easily ran out quickest ahead of JJ Leto and Giovanna Amati, surprisingly in fourth. It all meant that Lotus were joined in progressing through to race qualifying by BMS Dallara and Minos Modena. Sadly for Modena driver Eric van der Poel, the weekend got off to a poor start after the Belgian suffered suspension failure at over 190 miles an hour at the flat-out Curva Grande and brought Friday's session to a halt. When it resumed, Schumacher impressed through the Lesmo complex, but his Jordan was massively underpowered on the straights, and by the end of the 1 hour session for championship contender Mansell, he could only manage third quickest behind the two Ferraris of Senna and Michael Andretti. Later on came news that Ligier had ditched Porsche engines for a supply of Renault's V10s next year. And it appeared talks had broken down between Senna and McLaren, who were also looking as though they could steal Footwork's exclusive supply of Ilmor engines. Then the first bombshell of the weekend dropped, as Honda all but confirmed Senna would be staying at Ferrari after they announced that they were severing ties with McLaren at the end of the season, which McLaren boss Ron Dennis said was somewhat inevitable. Saturday afternoon was a better one for championship contender Davis, as he worked on improving the straight line speed of his McLaren to wind up third fastest, but the Briton was unable to hold a candle to Senna, who, cheered on by nearly 200,000 screaming Tifosi, claimed his fourth pole of the year ahead of Andretti, with Prost in fourth, Mansell fifth and Jordan Lacey taking sixth in the second Williams. And it was the two Dallaras of JJ Leto and Emanuele Pirro who failed to qualify. Afterwards, a happy Senna admitted concern about the reliability of his car for the race, whilst Andretti was just looking forward to his first ever race at Monza, and Davis was targeting a podium finish before Ferrari sent the fans wild, confirming news on race day morning that their hero Senna would indeed be staying on for 1992. So it's the two Ferraris of Ayrton Senna and Michael Andretti on the front row with Joey Davies and Alain Prost on row 2. Row 3 is Nigel Mansell and Sean Alesi. Row 4 is Brundle and Herbert. Row 5 is Roberto Moreno and Nelson Piquet. Row 6 is Gerhard Berger and Satoru Nakajima. Row 7 is Pierluigi Martini and Gianni Morbidelli. Row 8 is Michael Schumacher and Riccardo Patrese. Row 9 is Stefano Modena and Andrea De Cesaris. Row 10 is Thierry Boots and Eric Comas. Row 11 is Eric Bernard and Aguri Suzuki. Row 12 is Mika Hakkinen and Giovanna Amati. And row 13 is Martin Donnelly and Eric van der Poel. It's a packed house here at Monza with 200,000 screaming Tifosi fans as the red lights come on, the engine revs rise, and the 1991 Italian Grand Prix is go! Senna makes a good start away from pole position, but not as good as his teammate Michael Andretti, who jumps into the lead as they run away from the line. It's Andretti ahead of Senna, with the two McLarens of Prost and Davies in 3rd and 4th. Nigel Mansell in the Williams is 5th. It's Brundle 6th, Alesi 7th. Moreno is 8th and Herbert is 9th with Berger 10th as they thunder into the Curva Grande for the first time. Absolutely flat out. There's no chicanes at Monza. It's still Andretti in the lead as Senna looks to try and make a move on the exit, but he can't do anything there. He's got Prost and Davies for close company now. And there's a couple of cars gone off in the distance there. I'm not sure what happened there, but that's a very high speed. So hopefully both drivers will be okay. But into the Lesmos for the first time, it's Andretti. He's over half a second ahead of Senna, who's got Davies now in 3rd. Right behind him, he's all over the Brazilian's gearbox as they thunder down towards the Ascari curve for the first time. What a manic opening lap this is. There's 54 laps for us to get through, and Davies is still pressuring Senna, and Prost is trying to get in on the act as well in 4th place, but Davies is going to try and pass him as Alesi has a look at the inside of Martin Brundle now, who gives up the position. It's still Sean Alesi now. He moves up into 4th, into 3rd, 6th place. But Joey Davies is in 3rd. Is he going to try and make a move on Senna now into the Parabolica? For the first time they go through, he can't do anything about it. Davies just lets Senna have the gap. And he's going to try and get on the throttle a little bit earlier than the Brazilian if he can. Pick up the slipstream and try and take the fight to the two McLarens. What an opening lap this is. Prost has dropped back in 4th position. But Davies is still right behind Senna with Andretti now, nearly a second over the Brazilian. He's got the lead. And let's have a look at the start from Joey Davies.
Well, you can see the two Ferraris there got off the line absolutely superbly as Davies just blocks Mansell's Williams. He's unable to stop his teammate Alain Prost, who made a fantastic getaway in the other McLaren. So a very good start from the two Ferraris. And what's this? This is Johnny Herbert. Is he one of the drivers that went off? Yes, he is. Johnny Herbert there just obviously lost a massive amount of front wing. Lost a lot of downforce. And there's another driver that's gone off. That's Schumacher. Michael Schumacher's gone off in the Jordan. He was way down in about 18th position at the time, and he's gone off and he's hit the barriers, and hopefully he's okay and able to rejoin the race. But not a very good start from the star of Belgium.
And Davies, he's all over the back of the Ferrari. That's Senna. Davies has a look into the left move. There's nothing doing there. Still Andretti's in the lead, but it's only 0.3 seconds. So Davies, as he runs wide over the curbing on the exit of the first Lesmo, Davies is absolutely pushing his McLaren for all that it is worth. Is he going to be able to do anything to try and get past Senna, who's closed the gap on Andretti now? The three of them, look at this. It's going to be a slipstreaming belter of a battle between the three of them as Davies looks to go through the inside of Senna into the Ascari. He's through the McLaren, zips up into second place, has to get out of the power. I heard a little lift off the throttle because otherwise he would have creamed into the back of Andretti's Ferrari. But Davies is still absolutely flat out. He's on the outside. Andretti, he's going to try and block him on the inside with Senna lurking in the background. Senna's going to try and go through. He's not. No. Davies is going to try and hang it around the outside of the other Ferrari. Is he going to be able to get a better drive out of the Parabolica? He does. Fantastic stuff. What a pass from Joey Davies around the outside of Michael Andretti's Ferrari. And that's going to give Senna the chance to try and pounce on Andretti.
Fantastic pass from Joey Davies there. Absolutely mega. With Alain Prost still sitting there in 4th position. But look at the power advantage that those Ferraris have over the Honda that's in the back of Davies' McLaren. He's gone from first straight away all the way down the main straight back into 3rd position.
Is he going to be able to fight back? He pulls to the inside of Andretti again. And he's up into 2nd. No, he's in 3rd again. but Andretti's still trying to get past. Look at this. The precision that these drivers have to drive with is absolutely incredible. Into the Lesmos they go again. Davies is still all over the back of Senna. He's absolutely fighting that McLaren to stay on pace with the two Ferraris, who had more or less a half a second a lap advantage in qualifying as the two Williamses come through the Lesmos. But they are way back. The Ferraris and the Hondas have got a lot more horses in their engines than the Williams-Renaults. But Davies is going to try and make a move around the outside of Senna. They're side by side through Ascari. Look at this. He's done it. My goodness me. The bravery on display from the three drivers at the front is absolutely incredible. Davies looks to the inside. Senna has to go around the outside with still the Tifosi fans screaming his name. This is fantastic. Davies just runs a little bit too deep on the brakes, manages to get the car stopped in time, avoids going over the gravel, but he's lost time. Senna's going to be all over the back of that McLaren. Is Davies going to try and do his usual defensive move and just narrow the gap? He does, and Senna has to pull back, and that gives Andretti the chance to try and make a move on the Brazilian for second place. But Senna and Andretti, Senna will not let Andretti go through, because Senna's challenging for the lead once more on the run down to the curve of Branda. Yet again he's through. The Brazilian is through, and Andretti's trying to make the pass on Davies. Look at this. This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. They're three wide on the approach down towards the first Lesmo. Davies is still on the inside. He's going to try and take Andretti now for second yet again. He does. Fantastic. He almost runs wide, but he just about manages to keep the McLaren on the road.
Extraordinary driving from all three of them. This really is impressive stuff. And that's the thing that I love about Monza without these chicanes. It's just absolutely flat out slipstreaming racing. Absolutely fantastic. As Davies looks to make a move on Senna, is he going to try and take the lead like he did a couple of laps ago? I think he will. They're side by side yet again, and Senna just bails out of it. He knows that he's got a much faster car than that McLaren, but Joey Davies will not have anything about it.
As we see Patrese passing one of the Tyrrells, I think that was Stefano Modena. So that's going to be down. We think that that's down for like 13, because here's Pierluigi Martini. He's battling Gerhard Berger's German Porsche. Martini can't do anything about that. Berger was too good, and Davies is coming under attack yet again from Senna, who has to bail out across the start-finish line. It's Joey Davies still in the lead, ahead of the two Ferraris, and Prost is closing up. You can see the four-time champion, who is going to be retiring at the end of this season, sadly for us. He's retiring at the end of the year, but he is closing the gap as Senna takes the lead, and Davies has to bail out of it, and he's got to get it massively out of the power, and that's enabled Michael Andretti to go back ahead of him. As we look at Andrea De Cesaris and Eric van der Poel battling over 16th position. Fantastic, there's battles right the way through the field, and hopefully during the course of the race we're going to pick up some of the action a bit further on. As Prost goes through, Davies runs wide over the exit of the curbing of the first Lesmo. He runs wide and he drops from third down to fourth position. And Boutsen's trying to pass Michael Schumacher. Schumacher's coming through as Prost goes into the Parabolica.
There's a McLaren slowing there. I just noticed there's smoke coming out of the back of Joey Davies' car, I think that was, as Andretti leads them across the line yet again with Senna in second. And Davies! Joey Davies has pulled over with smoke billowing out of the back of the McLaren, and he's in the fight for the World Championship this year, and that is not going to do his championship any hopes at all. And Eric van der Poel has gone off in the Modena. That's his second accident of the weekend. Fantastic development here. And Senna's going for the lead. Ayrton Senna goes for the lead. He pushes Andretti wide and just about avoids going into the gravel. That was a little bit ruthless there, I fear, from Ayrton Senna. He kind of absolutely pushed Michael Andretti out of the way and said, absolutely not, I'm going to be taking over this first position. Fantastic development as Andretti's trying to lap. Well, that's Martin Donnelly. He's trying to get past Donnelly, who just cuts across him. Well, I must say that's not very sportsmanlike behaviour from the Lotus, who's already been passed by Senna's leading Ferrari. And Andretti in the second Ferrari is desperately trying to get through. And Mansell is in fourth position now, elevated into fourth after Davies' misfortune, with teammate Sean Lacey trying to get past the Lotus there of Mika Hakkinen. For fifth position, it's Martin Brundle in sixth. Piquet's in seventh. Roberto Moreno is in eighth place, with Gerhard Berger in ninth. And Pierluigi Martini is 10th as Ayrton Senna comes into the pit lane for his first tyre stop. Well, they're all going to be making one tyre stop, we believe, today, as Prost goes through. And Patrese pulling over. He's slowing down as Sean Lacey comes into the pits from fifth position. Yes, Riccardo Patrese with obviously some sort of a technical failure in the Joas Porsche as he gets passed by the two Jordans there. That's Michael Schumacher and Andrea De Cesaris.
That's sensational! But here's Alain Prost. He's heading up towards the Parabolica now for the 28th time. Is the Frenchman going to be coming into the pits? We understand that the McLaren team are ready to receive him. But I think he's not going into the pits. Andretti, the race leader, he's into the pits. Prost opts to stay out for another couple of laps. And that's going to elevate Prost into the lead. It's Mansell in second, Andretti's in third, with Senna all the way down in fifth position. Is he going to come out in front of his teammate? And could that be that's a potential first place change, because once Prost, Mansell and Martin Brundle make their tyre stops, Senna could theoretically take over the lead for the Ferraris at Monza. And he's coming across the pit exit, and where's Andretti? Senna's across the line.
Andretti's already come out. There he is. Andretti's in second position now as Piquet comes into the pits from sixth place.
So Senna's going to retake the lead as Bernard and one of the Minardis are battling, with Schumacher coming into the pits in the Jordan, and Prost is in. So Alain Prost is going to make his first and only tyre stop, with Nigel Mansell going to be taking the lead. No, Mansell's going to come into the pits as well. Mansell's into the pit. So that means to say that Brundle is going to take over the lead. And that's his teammate Johnny Herbert, who's recovering very well after his first lap demeanour. And Brundle heading up towards the Lesmos. He still hasn't come into the pits. He's got the Joas Porsche of Gerhard Berger right behind him. Berger's certainly performing very well today. The Joas is a very unreliable car, so they will be having everything crossed that they will be able to finish the race as we ride on board with Michael Andretti and Johnny Herbert into the pits. He's got himself up into 10th position.
That's Senna slowing.
Senna! My goodness me! What a development, Ayrton Senna! It looks as though he's got a loose front right wheel.
And a possible suspension failure, I fear there. That's probably why he's slowing down.
Is he going to make it back to the pits? I don't think he is. Senna's going to pull over surely. I think Ayrton Senna is going to be out of the race as Brundle comes into the pits from the lead. But what a development here at Monza. Senna, he's pulling over in the McLaren. He's trying to get back to the pits.
Yes, he's definitely, but I was just about to say he's going to pull over as we see Roberto Moreno pull over in the Benetton. Yet another retirement for the Brazilian. But the other Brazilian, Ayrton Senna, who's the World Championship contender, he's out. So that means that Joey Davies and Ayrton Senna are both out of the battle. So that leaves Alain Prost and Nigel Mansell in the pound seats to try and extend the lead over Senna and Davies in the championship.
Fantastic development. That means to say that Michael Andretti has gone into the lead. And look at this. That's Martin Brundle and Jean Alesi battling over fourth place. Alesi in the Williams, who's yet to be confirmed for 1992. And Martin Brundle, who is without contractor footwork next year.
Well, I understand that Martin Brundle is also talking to a few teams, and that includes Frank Williams about rejoining them, having driven for them in 1988. But also he could very well be on the move to Benetton. Benetton, who were expecting to take Michael Schumacher, but there's still no word as to whether the German will actually sign for them. He's turned down the drive from the rest of this year to opt to stay with Jordan, and we understand that he's still in negotiations with Benetton to drive for them from 1992.
But here's Michael Andretti now. He's hunting down Gerhard Berger, who used to drive at Ferrari, who's actually had his place taken, as Brundle cuts right across Andrea De Cesaris. But of course it was Gerhard Berger who lost his drive at Ferrari to Michael Andretti. But as we see Jean Alesi and Martin Brundle, they are still embattled over that fourth position now. But Martin Brundle's got ahead of Jean Alesi, and there's Nigel Mansell.
That's Nigel Mansell, and I think that's Michael Schumacher behind him.
It's a Schumacher. They're battling over third place. Look at this. Schumacher's going to try and make the move on Nigel Mansell.
That's not for position. Michael Schumacher's 12th and Nigel Mansell's 3rd. So obviously Nigel Mansell is lapping him.
He's lapping Schumacher. Fantastic stuff. Mansell, he's way back. He's 19 seconds behind the race leader, Michael Andretti. And Williams have absolutely been nowhere this weekend. Their Renault engines are massively down on the Ferrari, and even the Honda that's in the back of that McLaren. As we see the two Lotuses of Hakkinen and Martin Donnelly embroiled in a battle themselves. Look at this. They're side by side through the Curva Grande as we cut back to Michael Andretti. But what a day this is turning out to be for the American. And he will certainly be hoping that he's got all the luck with him today. But Martin Donnelly bails out of trying to pass Mika Hakkinen there, because Michael Andretti has been in a very good position several times this year, only to have his car fail. And anybody who remembers anything about this year will remember that Watkins Glen in the opening race. He was even on for finishing third, as that's a Williams. That's Mansell. Nigel Mansell's pulling over. My goodness me, that's the third title contender out of the race. We've lost Senna, we've lost Davies, and now we've lost Nigel Mansell. I'm not sure what happened there, but Mansell is out as we see the two Lotuses passing the stricken Williams. But Mansell is out, and Michael Andretti, he will definitely be hoping that he's got all the luck in the world that's with him. As we look at Donnelly and Hakkinen once again, Hakkinen's in the lead ahead of his Ulsterman teammate, but they go side by side through Ascari. Look at this. But Donnelly manages to get the position back. Fantastic racing, but it's still Michael Andretti in the lead now. He's got a 12-second lead over Alain Prost, and providing he doesn't strike any trouble, he should be all good to the checkered flag. As we see Prost with Brundle ahead. Now, so it's Martin Brundle in third with Sean Alesi in fourth. Nelson Piquet is fifth, and Johnny Herbert's got himself all the way back into sixth place. And I really do hope that Johnny Herbert's able to secure a top seat for next year, because footwork have massively let him down. And that's a footwork slowing. Is that Brundle or Herbert? I think that's Herbert. It is. That's Johnny Herbert. He's pulling over. My goodness me. Yet another retirement. He's got some sort of a suspension failure in the footwork, and he is out. What has he got to do to finish a race? And that's Martin Brundle pulling over in the system footwork. My goodness me. They're both out on the same lap. What are the chances of that? Martin Brundle pulls over, and he also is out of the race. And it's turning into an absolutely appalling season for Jackie Oliver's team. But we ride on board with Alain Prost now, and he's behind one of the Ligiers. Well, I think that's Thierry Boutsen there. That's Boutsen who Prost. Obviously, there's still some talk that Alain Prost, although he's retired, he very may well reverse that decision and look at testing one of the Ligiers, perhaps later in the season. But he's still not made his mind up as to whether he actually wants to come back or not, and I don't think he will make his mind up until he's at least driven the car. But my understanding is that he is going to hold a test session with the team and actually try and find out if there's any future in that team, whether he takes it on as a driver role or if he comes on as team owner. But we see Michael Andretti now. He heads into the Curva Grande, and he's only got a few laps to go. He's got a 12.6 second lead over Alain Prost, with Sean Alesi a whopping 34.5 seconds further back. Everybody else has been lapped by the American, who has driven absolutely perfectly all race day. He's lost his teammate Ayrton Senna, as Stefano Modena loses an engine in the Tyrrell, but Michael Andretti has kept going the whole race, and he's absolutely driven superbly. And that's the other Tyrrell. That's Nakajima pulling over. That's Satoru Nakajima is absolutely out of the race as well. So that's unfortunate for both Tyrrells, because they're both going to retire. As Andretti, he's on the final lap now, heading down towards the Parabolica. And Andretti, he's only got one more corner to go as he flies in behind Gianni Morbidelli's Minardi. But Michael Andretti, the yellow flags are out, but Michael Andretti rounds the right-hander in the Parabolica. He's back on the gas, and Michael Andretti finally is going to win a Grand Prix for the first time. What a monkey to get off of his back. And he's across the line. He's over the main start-finish straight, and Michael Andretti for Ferrari wins at Monza. Fantastic performance. What a moment for the Andretti family. His father Mario won the 1978 World Championship, and now he gets to see his son Michael win at Monza. Fantastic, as Prost is second, and Sean Alesi comes across the start-finish line to take a brilliant podium position. That's his seventh for the year. But for Michael Andretti, it's a day of reckoning. What a performance from the American, and what an Italian Grand Prix. It's been a year of frustration for Andretti, who has retired from many races whilst looking set for a decent finish. But after inheriting the lead from teammate Senna, his victory today was a delight for all Formula One fans the world over. And seeing the 200,000 Tifosi celebrating as the son of 1978 world champion Mario climbed the top step of the podium and spraying the champagne, it was a magical moment for the entire Andretti family. Prost was thankful to have collected another 6 points with a failing McLaren, and Alesi surely all but cemented his staying at Williams for next year after taking his 7th podium of the season. Meantime, for the other championship contenders, Mansell was already focused on Portugal, which is next. Davies was gutted to lose a probable podium finish himself, and Senna warned Ferrari that the title could be lost if they don't sort themselves out. Prost now holds a 7-point lead over Senna and Mansell in the driver's standings, with Davies slipping to 14 points back, with Alesi catching him for third. In the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari have closed the gap to the front two, but it's still McLaren leading Williams by 14 points. A few hours after the race, McLaren finally confirmed the rumours that Schumacher had signed a 2-year deal to use Ilmor engines from 1992 and would be partnering Joey Davies, who cautiously welcomed the news. There's only 4 rounds left now, and the battle over who wins the title this year is really hotting up as we head to Estoril in a fortnight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for round 13 of the 1991 Formula 1 World Championship in Portugal.